Health Hero, the 5 steps to become your own health hero includes spirituality. That helps you to decrease the cortisol, increases your relaxation. So that may also help you. Hi, everyone. Dr. Partha Nandi. Thank you for joining us today, talking about one of my favorite topics. I like to talk about sleep because people just take sleep for granted, right? I mean, people think that, sleep is something that they can ignore. And again, we only have 24 hours in the day, and what do people cut out? It's sleep. So today I'm talking about sleep, and I believe it's just fundamental for good health, right? It's fundamental for people to have sleep, to be able to live a life that is healthy, and people are health heroes looking to see how they can optimize their health. Sleep is a huge part of that. So listen, to me, sleep is brain food. It's what happens when you sleep. Your brain rejuvenates, the rest of your body rejuvenates as well. And as you know, in our modern busy lifestyles, all of us, me included, often cut back on this one part, which is sleep. I say, okay, well, I've got so much to do, and I'm going to now try to get more time by cutting back on sleep. But it's estimated, get this, that 30% of adults and 66% of adolescents, really worried about those adolescents, teenagers who are up until 2 o'clock in the morning and then try to, get up and do some stuff, right? So I think teenagers especially, are also adolescents, really not good because there are multiple consequences, right? So what happens if you are not sleeping, right? And that's what I'll talk about. So to me, your senses start to become dull, which means that you're thinking, oh, yeah, how come I'm not as sharp as I normally am? Sleep can be a big part of that, right? Your sight, how you see, touch, hearing, smell, all of them get affected by the kind of sleep you have. So again, those of you who are joining us, thank you for joining us. Let us know where you're joining us from, any questions you have, and we'll, of course, try to get those questions answered. Again, let us know where you're joining us from, and share this. If you think this is helpful, share this with your community. But, again, half of Americans feel like they are sleepy during the day, between 3 to 7 days a week. Think about that, 3 to 7 days a week. Drowsy driving is responsible for more than 6,000 fatal car crashes every day. Insufficient sleep, super important. Estimated economic impact are $411 billion. That's with a B, dollars every year in the United States alone. So what happens is that they did a study with long-haul truckers, researchers participants, right, that participated to these visual stimuli, like stuff that they can see after 27 hours without sleep. All of us have seen those truckers, right, passing down the road. Some of them haven't slept for a long time. So in the sleep-deprived state, the drivers, they reacted more slowly to visual stimuli. Very, very important. More slowly to visual stimuli, and again, than people that were well rested. And this had nothing to do with eye function. The researchers found that the eyes were fine, but all because of the cognitive side, the side that interprets, right? They weren't seeing any worse, they just were interpreting less fully. When your brain interprets slowly, it just doesn't affect your vision, it affects all your senses. So in a sleep-deprived state, what happens? You react less to auditory stimuli, and the mental fog that comes with sleeplessness also can have you be in that fog, no energy. You can't really function well. So, and I'll tell you this, personally, my mood changes dramatically. Tell me if yours as well. Again, important. Sleep and mood very closely connected, because that cognitive impact, right? Poor or inadequate sleep can cause irritability and stress. It can make you feel very moody, and you're also more likely to have conflicts with others, right? So what you could tolerate, that person giving you that finger on the street when you're driving, man, you can't handle this more. Studies have shown that even partial sleep deprivation, not the 27 hours, but not sleeping, your normal hours of sleep, can have a significant effect on mood. University of Pennsylvania, amazing university, showed that people who are limited to only 4.5 hours of sleep a night reported feeling more stress angry, sad, and mentally exhausted. So mentally exhausted, we get angry and sad. Imagine that. When they resumed normal sleep, they reported a dramatic improvement in mood. Super important to understand that this is not just me talking about it, it's really happening. Weight gain. What about weight? People say, what the heck does that have to do with sleep, right? The more I do, the more I can lose weight. Absolutely not. Lack of sleep can add pounds to your body, can cause you to pack on those pounds. Studies showed the relationship between sleep and weight in over 21,000 adults over the age of 20. Here's what they found. People who slept less than 5 hours each night over the course of a 3-year study, guess what? More likely to gain weight. Imagine that. And eventually become obese. Those who slept between 7 and 8 hours fared better. We're better on that scale. So here you are, you're doing everything you can to get that healthy weight, but you're not sleeping because you got to do too much. Well, in fact, you're doing everything you can not to be able to get the healthy weight you want. What about hallucinations? Imagine that. According to Stanford, a researcher out of Stanford, at least 80% of people will hallucinate if severely sleep deprived. Imagine that. Severe means getting only a few hours of sleep in a single night to going days without sleeping. That's what severe means. So getting that kind of sleep, approximately 2% of 350 people who were deprived of sleep for over 112 hours began experiencing symptoms similar to paranoid schizophrenia. Imagine that. So the brain is critically needing sleep. That's so important to know that. Because we take sleep for granted. We just say, I'll catch up on it, but you may not, right? You may not, and you may continue to harm your body. It's not getting the time it needs to nourish the mind as well as other parts of your body. Now, if you continue to operate without sleep, here's what happens. You can develop long-term and serious health concerns. Everything I've talked about to me is serious, but guess what? High blood pressure, diabetes, heart attacks, heart failure, or stroke. Some of the most serious potential problems associated with chronic sleep deprivation, meaning you're not sleeping well, high blood pressure, diabetes, heart attack, heart failure, or stroke. Serious stuff. Again, if you feel this information is important, please share this with others that could benefit from it. And then other potential problems, we know about depression. Depression can be associated with it. Reduced immune function. Immune function is so important around, not just COVID, the flu season, all of our kids, anybody who has kids that go to school getting sick. So reduced immune function if you don't sleep appropriately. And I'm talking about getting at least 7 hours a night. And lower sex drive. I mean, can you imagine that? Not getting enough sleep can change your sex life as well and decrease your sex drive. Chronic sleep deprivation can even affect your appearance. We know that, right? Over time, you can lead to premature wrinkling, getting old, looking older, and dark circles around your eyes. None of that looks attractive. Also, there's a link between lack of sleep and an increase in the amount of stress hormone cortisol. A lot of this is derived from cortisol. Cortisol can break down collagen, which is the protein that helps keep your skin smooth, right? So mainly you want to get the stuff that keeps your skin smooth, which is collagen, and cortisol breaks down that collagen. So having a lack of sleep, even though you're trying to look your best, may affect it adversely. So why do people struggle, right, to get the proper amount of sleep in your body, right? Very common stress. So unopposed stress. Stress is a response to what? Challenging stuff that happens in your life, happens to my life, happens to everybody's life. But it's the response when you have those challenging circumstances. It affects us emotionally, physically, and behaviorally. When you're stressed, your adrenal glands release hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol, which keeps you amped up, right? And struggling to snooze. So it makes sense, right? You're amped up, and then the racing mind. I don't know if you guys have that, but racing mind, talking about how you cannot calm it down enough to sleep. Another reason, not getting the proper amount of sleep, poor diet. This is super important. Many people are aware that their diet can affect their sleep. So as a general rule, we think that a balanced diet that's made up of vegetables, fruits can really help. And this can provide what we need for the micronutrients, vitamins and nutrients, which contribute to better sleep and also promote a healthy weight. So it's double the benefit, I would say. And evidence has shown is that getting sufficient nutrient consumption, right? Not just calories, but nutrient consumption. So not these empty calories. You have a bunch of French fries, it's not gonna be enough, right? And again, we believe in evidence-based, right? Evidence-based medicine. Large studies showing that the lack of key nutrients such as calcium, magnesium, vitamin A, C, D, E, and K associated with sleep problems. I'll say it again. Calcium, magnesium, vitamins A, vitamin C, D, E, and K associated with sleep problems. So very important. While it doesn't show cause and effect in this research, it shows that there could be potential interactions between the way diet affects hormonal paths that involve sleep. So very, very very important. What about screen time? What about this bad boy, right? I gotta look at this phone, or and people who are older, they're watching TV, watching the late night shows before going to bed. What does that do? Electronic backlit devices, cell phones, tablets, readers, computers, they emit this short wavelength enriched light. And we call that commonly, it's called blue light, right? The blue light can interfere with sleep by doing what? Suppressing the production of something that's key. And this is important to understand, melatonin. Melatonin is a natural hormone released in the evening to help you feel tired and ready for sleep. But a lot of us are on our phones or our tablets, interfering. So make sure it's important not to be having that blue light right before going to sleep. Blue light can also reduce the amount of time you spend in slow wave and rapid eye movement, also called REM sleep. 2 stages that are critically important for what? Cognitive function. So you want to be able to make sure that you don't reduce the slow wave and the rapid eye movement sleep. And studies have shown that computer screens and phone devices, what do? They can lead to what are called neurophysiological arousals that increase feelings of alertness when you should be winding down. So basically, they're wiring your mind up so you're not winding down. You're up. You're like, I gotta go. And so you can't sleep that way. So what about some natural ways to be able to improve sleep? People talked about warm milk, chamomile tea, or tart cherry juice. There's a lot of scientific evidence for that, right? But there's no harm in trying them. Now, if you have acid reflux, you can't drink, something right before going to bed. That's an example of you shouldn't do that. But in general, warm milk has been believed to be associated with chemicals that simulate or basically look like or are very similar to the effects of what's called tryptophan on the brain. This is a chemical building block for the substance, right? Serotonin, which is involved in the sleep-wake transition. So remember, tryptophan, building block for a substance called serotonin. What about chamomile tea? Believed to have flavonoids that can interact with benzodiazepine receptors. Those are fancy name for receptors that are also involved in the sleep-wake cycle. Remember, chamomile tea does not have caffeine, and caffeine can amp you up instead of winding down. And then tart cherry juice may support melatonin production and support a healthy sleep cycle. A couple summers ago, I for the first time in my life, I was having a lot of trouble sleeping, and it was every night. And there's nothing like it. And I empathize with people, but anybody who's not had trouble sleeping, right? Who has not had trouble sleeping, it has no idea what that's like. The frustrating part of not being able to go to sleep, even though you have to. And then it's anxiety provoking because you got a busy day ahead of you. You don't know what to do. So, with that in mind, and I went through multiple trials of different things, and it's with that in mind that we developed something called SleepMax. So one of our supplements, Dr. Partha Nandi, MD, SleepMax. Hopefully you can see that. And so what is SleepMax and how it can improve sleep? So SleepMax is a comprehensive formulation created for patients who experience occasional sleepiness, right? If you have sleepiness that's long lasting and something that's different, you should see it. You should see your caregiver, your provider, and make sure it's okay. But if you have occasional sleepiness, SleepMax, it promotes healthy sleep cycle by naturally boosting what? We talked about serotonin. There's also a chemical called GABA, GABA, and melatonin using bioactive cofactors and amino acids. So fancy stuff. In order to maintain restorative sleep, which means that sleep that restores your body, it's crucial to do what? That the brain has optimal levels of serotonin and gamma aminobutyric acid, or GABA. And that's the relaxing and sleep regulating neurotransmitter, as well as sleep regulating hormone melatonin. So you need GABA and you need melatonin. So they're synergistic things that work together, and that's in SleepMax that can boost levels of neurotransmitters and hormones that promotes the relaxation, right? Relaxation so that you can go to bed. That's the problem. So you're not having that racing mind, and increases deep restorative sleep and the stages of sleep that have it. So what are some of the ingredients in SleepMax? So 5-HTP. This is the sleep regulating hormone melatonin that requires an essential amino acid, tryptophan, for conversion. If you have a deficiency of something called tryptophan in the diet, that can lead to low serotonin and melatonin levels, and that can lead to sleep challenges. So if you have low tryptophan, lead to low serotonin and melatonin, and that can contribute to sleep challenges. L-tryptophan converted into the amino acid, 5-HTP, and then that's converted to serotonin. So this allows for the enhanced serotonin and melatonin. So it makes serotonin and melatonin so that you can have that restorative sleep that you need. What about GABA? And GABA is one of the major inhibitory neurotransmitters, meaning that's some of the neurotransmitters that bring you down. So you want to make sure that you get GABA to provide the calming effect, and that plays a direct role in activating sleep cycle in the evening. So GABA is needed. And this SleepMax, and I'll have one of my team members put up a link. We'll be able to today, if you join in and you can get this, you'll be able to get 10% off. I believe we can still do that, right? So we'll put that link up. Please feel free. I think it'll be, if there's something that can help you, please go ahead and purchase it today. And SleepMax is a patented, naturally sourced, it's important, non-synthetic form of GABA. You can make it in a synthetic form, but it's a non-synthetic form. It's naturally sourced. And using the 100 milligrams of this type of GABA in a study supplemented before bedtime was shown to reduce sleep latency by 20%. What that means is that the time it takes to go to sleep decreased by 20%, while increasing time that you spend in deep sleep by 20% as well. So it's important to know that this stuff is not just, okay, it can, it may happen, it may help you, but when you look at the studies, it looks as if that you can decrease the amount of time you can get to sleep, as well as how long you spend in deep sleep. Another compound, many of you may not have heard of this, is phosphatidylserine, or PS, is a phospholipid that's found in high concentrations in the brain. Now, phosphatidylserine has been shown to play a role in regulating cortisol excretion. So remember, elevated levels of cortisol throughout the night can do what? Wake you up. Somebody said, how do you go back to sleep? Because sometimes when you wake up, your cortisol levels are high. How do you go back to sleep? So this phospholipid can actually help you to be able to regulate the cortisol so it's not elevated inappropriately. In studies that show giving this PS to people under high levels of stress, physical and mental, which seems like all of us, all the stuff that's going around us, there's so much with stress-induced secretion of cortisol. So when taken in the evening, this can help reduce cortisol secretion from the body's stress response system. And it's what's called a hypothalamic pituitary adrenal. So it goes from your brain into the pituitary gland, into the adrenal gland, and it can help you to promote a healthy sleep cycle. Super important to know. And we've got it all here. So in the SleepMax, so I'm still, hopefully one of my team members can really put up the link. And if you're watching this live, you're able to get You can get 10% off today if you feel like this is something that's useful for you. Let me keep going. Taurine is an example of another amino acid that's found abundantly in the brain and has neuroprotective properties. Taurine also promotes inhibitory neurotransmission. I'm talking about this again and again. Inhibition. You want to come down, not be stimulated all the time, right? So you want to be able to have hormones and chemicals that can help you to be able to relax that are naturally found abundantly in the brain, right? Taurine also supports neurotransmission that's inhibitory by activating glycine receptors in the brain. So it does it in two ways. So taurine promotes inhibitory neurotransmission by activating GABA. We talked about that. Then also supports inhibitory neurotransmitters by activating glycine receptors. So two ways taurine helps. Then we place a mineral blend: calcium, magnesium, two minerals that play a major role. I talked about that in the beginning, that these are some of the minerals that you need to be able to get the right amount of sleep, right? So calcium and magnesium, two minerals, play a major role in supporting a healthy sleep cycle. Magnesium, what does it do? It calms. Magnesium is awesome. In this instance, it calms the nervous system and has been shown to play a role in the regulation of the HPA axis. The HPA axis is very involved in what? We talked about the secretion of cortisol, right? The hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Hypothalamus in the brain, the pituitary gland going down to the adrenals, producing all this cortisol. So magnesium promotes the relaxation, right? And helps you to be able to get the decrease of these excitatory or stimulating neurotransmitters in the brain. So when you decrease the activity, for example, of glutamate, these are all kind of technical words, but it gives you the idea of what's going on, that this is really based on science and fact. Magnesium is promoting relaxation by decreasing the activity of glutamate, and this is an excitatory neurotransmitter, so it brings it down. And then magnesium also does what? It blocks glutamate from binding to its receptor, allowing it to increase in GABA. So all working in the same cycle to be able to get you to relax. And within the hypothalamic pituitary axis, one of the axis that goes from the brain to the pituitary gland, the adrenal gland, the body's stress response system, magnesium has also been shown to decrease the release of stress hormone cortisol when you actually take the oral magnesium administration. So you're regulating the substances that can help you and promote you to get the right sleep that you want. Serotonin concentrations in the brain also decrease by more than 80% after the onset of darkness. And this is where serotonin, it gets converted into melatonin by something called the pineal gland. So I'll tell you that serotonin concentrations decrease by more than 80% after the onset of darkness. So this is when it converts to melatonin, which helps you to be able to sleep. And then calcium is a critical requirement in the synthesis of melatonin. Combination of 5-HTP and calcium that you see in this sleep max, right? It provides a significant and we call natural boost in the melatonin levels, which helps you to be able to sleep, and then aids in the conversion and activation of the sleep hormone. So we talk about how all these factors you put together, it's not just additive. They're actually working in synergy. They're not just ingredients that you add together, but they're 1 + 1 is equal to 3 in this case. And the micronutrients in sleep max also have essential nutrients that are required cofactors for the synthesis of serotonin and GABA. And this includes 5-MTHF, which is 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate. And so just remember as 5-MTHF, vitamin B6, vitamin C, zinc, and magnesium. So this helps neurotransmitter synthesis. So you need these to make the neurotransmitters you need to actually get the sleep that you need. So again, remember, lots of stuff in the Sleep Max, and if you feel like this is something that'd be useful for you, again, we'll put up a link here to you can get that whenever you'd like. And some of the questions specifically about atrial fibrillation, if you have atrial fibrillation or you have a specific health condition, always talk to your doctors about it. we chose ingredients and we selected ingredients that should be perfectly fine with the general population. But when you have specific conditions, always make sure it's safe with your doctor. But for folks who in generally good health, you should be able to take this. And again, it's for occasional sleepiness. If you've got a sudden change in your sleep habits, important to know that, right? Important to know that and go talk to your doctor and make sure that you're not missing any diagnoses. So again, to sum up, we've been talking about this. Sleep to me is your body's way of metabolically and physiologically resetting itself. Many Americans only get 6 hours or less of sleep a night. How much sleep you need may depend on your age. School age kids, 6 to 12, 9 to 12 hours every 24-hour cycle. It's a lot. Teenagers, 8 to 10 hours per 24 hours. Adults between 18 and 60 years of age, 7 or more hours a night. 61 to 64 years of age, 7 to 9 hours. 65 years and older, 7 to 8 hours. So to me, at least 7 hours if you're an adult. If you're a teenager, at least 8 hours. If you're between 6 and 12, at least 9 hours. Important to follow good sleep habits. Try to not to have a screen in front of you right before going to bed, right? Go to bed and get up at the same time. It's super important. Have a sleep hygiene, a cycle, so you know your body knows when it's time to go to sleep. Avoid eating super large meals and avoid caffeine, avoid alcohol before bedtime. A lot of people they're drinking something right before bedtime. Please don't. And your bedroom should be dark and quiet and set to a comfortable temperature that you like. All this is super important because sleep, like everything else, especially if you're having trouble, you want to set up an environment that's really important. To me, stress often impacts sleep quality as well as duration. If you're stressed before bed, allow yourself to have quiet time. Do a quiet, relaxing activity. Reading a book is great. Not one on these things, right? Not one on your your iPhone or something else, right? Or your iPad, not that blue light device. You want to try to do it in a real book. Try to avoid computers, smartphones, or other blue light emitting devices. And even I would even stop watching TV if you're really trying to get some sleep. Try avoiding watching TV or anything electronic for at least 1 hour, preferably 2. You can try natural ways. We talked about warm milk, chamomile tea, or tart cherry juice. Got a new supplement called Sleep Max. I suffered from Sleep Max. I suffered from little sleep, difficulty in getting to sleep, waking up. I had difficulty for several weeks, about 6 weeks, and it's the most frustrating feeling. And we developed this Sleep Max using the right ingredients, and hopefully this works for you as well. We wanted to have ingredients that are synergistic, work together to promote healthy sleep cycle by naturally boosting levels of serotonin and GABA and melatonin, and using bioactive cofactors and amino acids. So why don't get the stuff that's in your body that your brain needs and really try to get that so that you can get the sleep that you need. Remember, if you have long-term sleep deficiency, once you see your doctor, physicians can perform tests and evaluate for sleep disorder. I have a disorder called sleep apnea, and some people have that. It's very important to get diagnosed if you have chronic problems, meaning problems for a long period of time, right? You can also discuss medications that can interfere with your sleep, and always talk to your doctor, right, about before doing anything. If you have questions or concern, I appreciate all of you jumping on and giving us a shout. And remember, if you think this is some useful for your community, please share this with your community. So hello to Laura Probert, as always, from Farmington Hills, and Juliet from Jamaica, man. Hi, Juliet, sorry. And Vivian from Auburn Hills, Michelle, and says, I heard that melatonin isn't the best option for sleep, but GABA is. Do you recommend GABA? Absolutely. And I think Sleep Max has GABA, but what you want to do is remember melatonin is important for sleep, but that gets converted to sleep. Many of the compounds we have help for the production of melatonin. So important question. Kelkens Siango from South Africa. How are you? Tell us what part of South Africa you're joining us from. Karen, namaste. Thank you for joining us. Michael Catalano, thank you for joining us. And then Ashley Estrada. Wow, that's very good. No, thank you. And let us know where you're joining us from, Ashley. I appreciate it. Juliet says, I fall asleep early and wake up about 11 p.m. Cannot fall asleep until 3 a.m. and wake up by 5 a.m. A lot of my patients say that. So, you may want to be able to look at some of the natural techniques we talked about to help you fall asleep, and sleep max may be something that you can try, but also I would also try meditation, some way to be able to relax your mind, yoga, meditation, some tranquility. Because to me, health hero, the 5 steps to becoming your own health hero includes spirituality. That helps you to decrease the cortisol, increases your relaxation. So that may also help you. And Judith Marie says, how do you get to sleep when you're wide awake after a couple hours sleep? Very important. I think that some of the compounds in Sleep Max may help you because it regulates the cortisol levels. To me, when your cortisol levels are inappropriately high, Judy, during the evening, during the middle of the night, it's hard to go back to sleep because you're in this excited state, right? Instead of this inhibitory state. And so Jacqueline Tolentino, thank you for joining us from Reading, Pennsylvania. Appreciate it. And then Judy Marie, so how do we get back to sleep? I think it's really about regulating the cortisol level in your body. And so Sleep Max may be something you can try and see if that helps you. Also, meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, something to relax you. Make sure you don't have screen time, blue light 2 hours before going to bed at least, right? And try not to, eat a heavy meal or and have the bedroom dark. Try to go to sleep at the same time every night. It does help. Absolutely. Kelly Seba, thank you for joining us. Linda Oda, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. Sharon says, I have Sharon Bosarge, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. I have PTSD from COVID. Sorry to hear that. I lost 12 friends from them laying down and going to sleep. Oh my gosh. Doctors won't listen to me. I get 3 hours of broken sleep every night. I beg for help and they telling my story. They all tell me they'd never heard of that. I also suffer from AFib, so I can't just take anything. I would talk to your cardiologist, Sharon, and see if Sleep Max works for you. I would also really see a behavioral therapist for your PTSD. It's super important to get that controlled. It's super important to get that controlled. I get it. I mean, I believe you. I mean, I don't know who's telling you that they've never heard of having PTSD from having all your friends pass away. I mean, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that you're having such a bad experience. But you can of course ask your doctor if Sleep Max is the right option for you with your AFib. I think it is, but check with your doctor. And then I think that trying to reduce some of the stressors in your life by doing yoga, meditation, Tai Chi, prayer, whatever it is, along with behavioral therapy will help you. I wish you luck. And then Michael Catalano, thank you. And Sharon said you had COVID last February. Okay, excellent. Eileen Stack, hello. And then Christine Sutherland, always good to see you from Port St. Lucie, Florida. Appreciate that. And Mary Jo says, can I take it with reflux gourmet at night? I think you can. I don't think this is going to affect your reflux at all. So absolutely you can. And Michelle Toole says, I love magnesium. How do you take your product? Yeah, absolutely. If you look at it, you can take it every night as needed, and we'll put up a link, Michelle, so you can order it whenever you like. And then let's see. Lucy Estrada says, after taking melatonin, I woke up with a headache all the time, so I stopped taking it. And this is the important thing, right? If you take supplements that are just additives, what we've done with Sleep Max is giving you products that your body normally has, and you can naturally increase the conversion to melatonin. So that's important. Christine Sutherland says, I take a melatonin with a cup of chamomile tea. Look at you. You've got it all done. That's a great combination. And Cheryl said, I had birth control that was hormonal based. Would I be able to take Sleep Max? That should be. Just talk to your OB/GYN to be sure, but you should be able to. This should not interfere with that. And Stella Hari Prasad says, thank you for sharing. Love to read books. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, Stella. I appreciate it. Namaste. And Patricia Broom says, I take an SSRI. Can this be taken if I'm taking an SSRI? Yeah, you can. Again, check with your doctor to make sure there's no special consideration, but you should be able to. I would not take them together. If you're, let us know when you're taking the SSRI. So again, I think that somebody asked me about SSRIs and can we take it? Remember, serotonin is a compound or a factor in both these products. So talk to your doctor for sure. But I think if you don't take them at the same time, you should be able to take both. So appreciate the question. And then Shosasni says breast cancer, not birth control. Oh, I'm sorry. Cheryl, I misunderstood. Yeah, with breast cancer should not be an issue with this product at all. With birth control, obviously there's hormonal changes, so I wanted you to ask your OBGYN, but for breast cancer, should not be an effect or any consideration with the medicines you're taking. And then Cecilia Baini says, I could not sleep for a very long time. Important when you have that. When you can't sleep for a very long time, important to talk to your doctor to make sure there's not a disorder that's causing you not to be able to sleep, right? That there's not something that's causing problems in your actual sleep. So for me, I got a sleep study and I found out that I was having sleep apnea. And so the sleep apnea caused me to have disordered sleep. So what happened to me is I woke up how many times a night? Let me think. I think I woke up something like 300 times a night, right? And I would wake up episodically. Didn't even know it. And I would also obstruct. And here's the thing, right? I was tired during the day, but I just thought I was busy. I thought like all of us were just working hard, we're busy, right? So that's how I justified it. But in fact, what was happening is that my oxygen level was going down to about 70%. So until I got the sleep study, I didn't know. So important, if you can't sleep for a long time, make sure you talk to your doctor. But the sleep max that's created mainly for folks who have intermittent or occasional sleeplessness, and so I think that'd be helpful. So again, very, very important to be able to talk to your doctor if you have any specific medical conditions. Thanks so much, guys, for joining me again. I'll be back next week with more information on other topics that affect our health. Right? I think it's really important. Any questions you have, we will try to answer them again. Share this with your community if you think it's helpful. As always, make healthy living a part of every day. Namaste. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Partha Nandi. And if you enjoyed that video, you're going to love the next one. It's full of incredible information to help you start your health hero journey.